Wake up, people. Wake up. I'm not saying it. The author of the fourth gospel is saying that Zechariah 12:10 is not talking about the crucifixion, the piercing of Jesus that killed him.
Okay, Michael Cohen, you're live on the air. Go ahead and tell Rabbi your question.
Hi, Rabbi. My question is Zechariah 12:10. I have a sister who's a believer in the New Testament for that whole time and very confronting. She's like, oh, so what about that?
The context is that Israel, the Jews, returned to the land of Israel. The only way to understand that passage is to read it in context. The Jews have returned back to the land of Israel, have defeated their enemies. Jerusalem is a heavy, burdensome stone to all those who come against it. Zechariah 7 and 8 tells us that God is going to strengthen the weakest of the Jews and make them like angels and even like David. Zechariah 12:10 tells us they will look to me because of the one who was killed, or the ones that were killed. It really is a plural. And they will mourn over him as one mourns over a firstborn son. So the context of Zechariah 12 is end times. It's not 2,000 years ago. That's the simplest thing. Just read it in context. I believe that this is October 7th. This is called the Mashiach ben Yosef moment, which means prior to the full redemption, which comes in the following chapters. So here's the order of events. Zechariah 12 is the Jewish people return back to the land of Israel and liberate Jerusalem. If you read it in context, you're going to have no trouble with this chapter. Here you have the Jews returning to the land, and Jerusalem is in the hands of the Jews. Nations are not happy and go to war with Jerusalem. Just look at the verse before Zechariah 12:10. Look at Zechariah 12:9. Would you do that for me? It'll be in that day. It'll be in that day that I will destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. But in the midst of this enormous success, people get killed. They will look to me because of the ones, dakaru is plural, who are stabbed through, pierced through, meaning are killed. And they will turn to me and they will mourn over him as one mourns over a firstborn son. Which means that prior to the final redemption, immediately prior to it, someone gets killed or people get killed. There is a difference of opinion. It doesn't matter how you render it, if it's one person or many people get killed in this battle, and that causes a great the whole nation is united in a great mourning. It's very transparent that this is what occurred on October 7th, and the whole nation of Israel went into a great mourning, and now we're living through this. But what doesn't make sense. This can't have anything to do with Christianity, because in the first century, you can ask your sister, in the first century, the Jews didn't defeat their enemies. Jerusalem wasn't the heavy, burdensome stone of the nations who came against it. On the contrary, in the first century, Jerusalem and the land of Israel, Judea, was a vassal state of the Roman Empire. The Jews didn't defeat any Romans. Rather, the Romans crushed the Jews. The Jews weren't strengthened like David and like the angel of the Lord of hosts. It was the opposite. The Roman Empire, Vespasian and Titus, shattered Jewish life, destroyed the temple, destroyed Jerusalem, and the Jews were expelled from Yerushalayim. That's what occurred in the year 70. Now, we're going to take it forward, and this will blow your mind away. This text, strangely, is actually quoted in John 19. I'm not kidding. So it only, in all the Gospels, it only appears in the book of John. In John 19, we are told that after Jesus was crucified, so Roman soldiers on Friday, as the Sabbath is approaching, want to take his body down to give him over for burial. And a Roman soldier pierced the side of Jesus to see if he was really dead, because they were contemplating they should break his legs or not. Now, this story is a created story. It never happened. If you've been there with your cell phone, you would never be able to film it because it was invented. It's invented to have Jesus be like the lamb, which is uniquely Joannian. So they don't want to break his legs because it was a practice. If they wanted to hasten a crucified criminal, they want to hasten the death, they can break the legs of the criminal, and then the person wouldn't be able to sustain themselves on the cross, and their bodies would then come down, would be stretched out because they can't stand, and if you can't stand, then your lungs become elongated, and the person would very quickly die of asphyxiation, right? But they didn't want to break his legs, so they want to have, because the author of John, whoever wrote it, wanted to have Jesus to be the Lamb of God. You read John 19:34 through 37. Just read it for yourself. So if you read it for yourself, you'll see there that the one who's piercing are not Jews. And it's actually, it doesn't kill him. He's already dead. The piercing is a post-mortem inspection. I have a whole chapter on this in Volume 1 of Let's Get Biblical. I'm not trying to sell books, but it's in there. So the Christian Bible and mistranslated. The text says in Hebrew, "V'hebito Eליי et asher dokaru." They will look to me because of the one who was pierced through. If you look at John 19:37, like you could do this in 1 second. Right now, you can go on your browser or on your cell phone and look up John 19:37. Don't trust me. Look it up. And you'll see it says there, and they will look to him. Why did you change the pronoun? They will look to me, first person. They will look to him, third person. How do you change it? So the text, even the Christian Bible says this is not talking about the crucifixion, but it's an event after the crucifixion. That means Jesus is dead already because blood and water comes out of his side, and those who saw it knew it was true. To fulfill 2 verses, one in Exodus 12, not a bone of him should be broken, and the second one is this Zechariah chapter 12. So the author of John is saying this is not the crucifixion. Wake up, people. Wake up. I'm not saying it. The author of the 4th gospel is saying that Zechariah 12:10 is not talking about the crucifixion, the piercing of Jesus that killed him. Rather, I'm taking John 19 in context, this is a post-mortem check of Roman soldiers of the body of Jesus to see that he was dead. Because if he was dead, then they don't have to break his bones. They don't have to break his legs, okay? So as it turns out, they could see that he was dead. So then they took down the body and handed him over to be buried. Please look it up for yourself. According to John, this passage is not referring to the crucifixion, but rather an event after the crucifixion when Jesus is dead already. It's not telling you this. How do you dare say, how do you contradict your own Christian Bible and say, this is talking about the Jews that killed Jesus, that at the end of the days, the Jews will admit that we killed him. I mean, don't you have brains? Don't you have brains in your head? So ask your sister, gently, not like me, wait, hold on. John says Zechariah 12:10 is not referring to Jews who are responsible for Jesus' crucifixion, because the Jews are portrayed or characterized as villains who are responsible for Jesus' crucifixion. And Pontius Pilate is just a lackey. That is true. All the Gospels portray the Jews as the villain and totally responsible for killing Jesus, and Pontius Pilate is just a lackey. But this passage, Zechariah 12:10, we are told by John, is not referring to the crucifixion, but rather an event after the crucifixion where Roman soldiers are piercing the side of Jesus to see whether he was dead already or not. Now, as it turns out, usually in crucifixions, it took a long time for the criminal to die on the cross. It could take days and days. So people could be up there on a cross for days and days before they would die. So you have to ask your sister a question. Hold on here. How does John change the pronoun? And John is saying this has to do with what happened 2,000 years ago. And Zechariah is saying this is at the end of days when the Jews return to Jerusalem and defeat their enemies. That didn't happen in the 1st century. So the text is plain. It's end times where the Jews defeat the enemies. In the 1st century, that didn't happen. This can't be speaking about Jesus. Even according to Christian theology, this can't be the Jews saying that they will look upon me whom they have pierced. What are you talking about? John says it's not that. This is so crazy, so convoluted. So when someone brings up Zechariah 12:10, I know everyone, where's Rabbi Singher? Help me answer my question. I'm very happy. Please, I'm happy. But you realize now, my precious brothers and sisters, you could have solved this very easily by reading Zechariah chapter 12, but through 1 through 10. Just read it in context. You could have cross-referenced this to John 19 in the Christian Bible, which would tell you right away this is Roman soldiers doing the piercing back then. You could have seen easily that John 19:37 changes the pronoun. And incidentally, you can use the Christian Bible. You could take the King James Bible right now. You can open up 2 browsers on your computer. One, Zechariah 12:10, and it'll say, they shall look to me whom they have pierced, but look to me. And then you go to John 19:37, and they'll look at him. Just do that and go, what the heck is going on here? If you read a word of Hebrew, you know Eliy means me. It doesn't mean him. John changed it. How does John change it? And John's not talking about the crucifixion. He's talking about a post-crucifixion inspection. So the whole thing is fake. It's a fraud. It's a phony. It's a scam. I apologize for getting that upset. I want to drive it into your heads. You don't need me. And please, don't be lazy. Like when you quoted Isaiah 41, look it up in context. You look at Zechariah 12, look it up in context. If you look up text in context, you'll always solve your problems. Don't be afraid. You have the truth on your side. The people who are lying, who are making stuff up, they have a lot to be afraid of. This stuff terrifies them. They have no clue what to do with this. They have no idea what to do with this. And Christians, I'll just end with this, Christians are willing to, which is mind-blowing, they are willing to subvert their own New Testament, John 19, in favor of a better reading that the Jews at the end of days recognize that they killed Christ, which all the Christian commentaries say on Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. How could you not be ashamed of yourself? Now I'm talking about the average Christian has nothing to be ashamed of, because this is what they're taught in church. So it's not against you personally. If you're a Christian, not you. But the people who write this, the scholars who write the commentaries, the MacArthur Bible, MacArthur is a scholar, and he's a nice guy. I don't agree with him theologically, but he's like a nice Christian Protestant. But he writes this in his commentary on Zechariah 12:10. How do you write that? When you look at John tells us this is not what it's referring to. Anyways, a lot of love to you. Thank you so much for that thoughtful question. Shalom. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ואת נעשה בחפצו כל